Hey, well, welcome back. So here's chapter 8 exercises. So again, we're going to be taking a look at all three different methods. Now, again, realistically, you will never ever see this. It's never going to be a continuation, and then you have you know, another type of method. But this is just this is a fake scenario, so it's just one way that I could just test you on one consecutive you know one consecutive idea, but through using all three methods and seeing how different they are. Okay. So let's go ahead and start with FIFO. Okay, so here your inventory method is going to be perpetual and it's FIFO. Okay, so what happened on September 9?
Purchase 100 units to 0.25 and freight cost $25.
Okay, so I'm going to go to my table here. Okay, what was the September 5th?
September 5th.
We bought 100 toys at $2.25 each with a freight of $25. So, what is going to be my purchase price?
$225.
Yes, it's going to be $2.25. What's my total cost?
250.
$2.50. And lastly, what is my cost per item?
2.50.
$2.50, yes. So here, this is for, if you guys remember of me talking about this, this is how, so the first one we used colors, right? So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do using Excel, okay? I'm just going to keep my purchases in my purchases and my inventory on hand. I'm just going to go ahead and calculate everything in the inventory on hand. So for this one, I'm not going to show a lot of my work, so make sure you guys follow along, okay? So here I went ahead and placed it in my inventory on hand table here. So what has happened next?
Purchase 200 units.
We,
250 on account.
okay,
September 10th.
okay, perfect. So here we end up purchasing another one. So on September 10th, we purchased another 200 at 250 with a freight of 50. So wait, let me double check that. So we end up purchasing another 200 units at 250, freight costing 50. So what's my total purchase price here?
500.
500 plus, and my total cost is,
550.
and then my cost per unit is, or cost per item,
275.
$2.75. So then again, I'm going to move it again along into my inventory on hand. Okay, so I did not do that one right. There you go, 550. Okay. So then, what has happened next?
We sold 120 units at $10 each on the 15th of September.
Okay, so we ended up selling on the 15th. We sold 120 units. So where do I place that information? And how am I going to do this?
Cost of goods sold.
Possibly.
Good. So September 15th. Now I sold a total of 150 units. How am I going to do this using the FIFO method?
Taking out all of the 100 and then 50 from the second batch.
Perfect. Good. So we're going to take 100 from the first batch and 50 from the second batch. So in this case, it is, I have to do a calculation here. So this one, again, I'm going to also just, this is going to be something I prefer to do just so that I can pick the information up right away. So in this case, which batch am I taking out from again?
September 5th, all of it.
Good. Okay. And then,
And then 50 from September 10th.
good. So go ahead and multiply across, right? So this is how I do it with because using Excel, because I don't need to clutter my workspace. I could go ahead and just go straight over to inventory on hand. I know I got rid of the 100, and out of the 250, I sold 50. Oh wait, sorry, it's 200. My bad, excuse me. Out of the 200, I sold 50. So once I do that, boom, I should get 412.50 remaining. Okay. So in this case, you need to make sure that when you do your calculations that you know that it is very accurate. Okay? Reason being is because that sometimes if you're not very careful with your calculations, right, you may think that you're doing it correctly, but what happens is that when you use Excel, right, you want to be very careful because sometimes when you do your calculations, you could fat finger something. You can have a typo. There's a lot of reasons why sometimes it's actually good to utilize the information, or in this case, using the workspace to validate that your transaction has happened, but also to guarantee that your calculation is correct. Because in this case, I just took 50 right out of the 200 and I just multiply across. And I know that I should have 150, right? I actually did the calculation right here. I did the 200, right? Or I could have done this too. I could have cell referenced, take that 200 and subtract out this 50, and boom, it recalculates for me. Okay. But this usually, like I said, if you are the inventory manager, right? And this is how you do the inventory worksheet. There's also another thing too, is how do you know what has happened? Right? Because your workspace is become shorter, but it's a lot cleaner. And it's personal preference on how you want to use your inventory worksheets. But in this case, I'll like it. I've been doing, this worksheet for many, many, many years now. So it makes more sense to just, instead of clutter it with too much stuff, I'd rather just have it exactly like this and eliminate all the cluttering and make it more cleaner by utilizing the space I have, and making it more concise and clean and seamlessly, right? But this is only for again people who are more used to using Excel, right? It's actually a better advantage if you're able to use Excel this way. But also another thing is too, is it's also for, like, if you're a beginner, I would recommend you to utilize the space in the middle to keep your organized ideas organized. And that way when you can prove that a transaction has happened and make sure that the numbers match. But in this case, that's how I do it. So make sure you guys follow along when I post the answers, and you guys come back to this. You guys know exactly how this happened. Okay. All right, it's personal preference. If you like this too and it's a lot more cleaner, then go ahead and do it. Okay. So there you go. I updated my inventory. I know that I should have 150 left on hand, right? I started out with 300. Now I have 150 and I'm using FIFO. Okay. So then what else has happened?
I think we need to make a correction. It was only 120 units that were sold on the 15th.
It was 120? Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is so 20. So, okay, and then because I cell reference, it automatically updated my inventory on hand. Now I have 180. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. So there you go. See, because I use cell references, right? It makes it a lot easier for your, so if you make a change anywhere, it updates or it changes your cells because, yeah, anyways. So here you go. I've re-updated my inventory. So now that it was actually 120 units, there you go. There's, it went back. So I have 180 instead of the 150. Okay. And of course, these also updated itself as well. Okay. So then what has happened on September 18?
We sold another 50.
We sold another 50. So I probably looked at that number instead. Okay, so we sold another 50 units. Okay, so where am I going to place this?
Cost of goods sold,
Okay, so it was September
18.
18. We sold another 50 units. Because we're using FIFO, we only have one batch left. So our assumption is we're going to take this one. And because it's a rounded number, I don't need to use equal round here. Okay, so what is my total cost of goods sold here?
137.5.
137.5. And again, I'm going to go, what is this? 180. 180 minus 50 gives me a total of 130 left, which I should have a remaining of 357.50. Okay. Good. What's next here?
Purchased
50.
300.
We purchased 300 more units at 275 with a freight cost of 75. Okay. Now notice this. I'm not using colors, but it makes clear sense because as I keep making my purchases, right? I'm ending up stacking them up in the exact order I purchased them. So in this case, like I said, colors can be useful for you if you're a visual learner. But in this case, I know I can see by just looking at the order I'm placing in my inventory. So again, what was the date again? September 20th. We purchased 300 units at 275 with a freight of 75. So what is my total purchase price here?
820.
825.
825. My total cost.
900.
900.
And $3. Good. $3 is my total cost per item. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull this information over because it is inventory that I just purchased. Okay. So again, this section, like I said, if you're familiar with it, you can go ahead and pull down the formula here. So now I should have a new batch of 300. So I should have 430 in my inventory right now. Okay. So then what has happened next?
You sold 250 units.
We sold 250 units. Okay, so 250 units. All right. How am I going to calculate this?
Cost of goods sold,
Cost of goods sold. So September 25th. Which batch came first?
130.
130. Okay. How much more do I need to take out from the second batch to get 250?
120.
120. So again, this is going to be a calculation. So I'm going to highlight this. Okay. So again, as we remembered, we're going to take from the first batch. So we're taking all of it. Okay. So that should be 357.50 because we know we're going to take the whole thing. How much is my total cost of goods sold for my 120 items at $3?
360.
360. We add these up together. Your total cost of goods sold should be 717.50. Okay. So again, we could come right over here. We know that we're getting rid of the entire batch of 130, and here 300 subtract out this 120. I should get 180 left remaining in my inventory on hand. Okay. And then let's see what happened on the 27th of September.
You sold another 130.
Okay, good. And then last thing to indicate as well is that on September 30th, you should have 50 units remaining. So you sold 130. Okay, we're going to place it September 27. We sold 130. Okay. We only have one batch left. So the only assumption is that we have that one batch remaining. So what's my total cost of goods sold?
390.
390.
390, right? And of course you could come over here, right? We know that this is 180. Subtract out 130, and you should have 50 items remaining at the end of inventory. And you can either tally this up right here, so because we're pretty much done, right? You could write here that this is June 30th, and then tally up the totals. You can tally up the totals of your cost of goods sold. But for this one, we know that we have 50 items remaining, and it's going to be for a total of 150, right? So tell me, what do you guys like better? You like this one's a little more cleaner, or do you prefer to do the extra calculations?
This one.
Yeah,
This
yeah. Now that's only, like I said, this is only in the case where we're calculating the inventory on hand all consecutively, right? But in this case, if we actually did this based on the actual date, right? So we're doing it pretty much every 5 days. We're updating our inventory every 5 days. If we're updating our inventory every 5 days, realistically, will we be able to keep track of it? Again, personal preference. But again, I because this is for class purposes only, I just need you to keep to understand the concept. And this is just much more easier, much more cleaner. So, all right. So we finished the first one right there. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's see what happened next. So we're going to be moving on to a new inventory worksheet. So what it says here for number 2 is we're going to continue from the above, okay? You have inventory method is going to be perpetual, and it's going to be LIFO this time, right? Here it gives a little information saying that the beginning inventory, right, is going to say that you have 50 units on hand costing a total of 150, which, we validated that is true. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to actually add the date, right? This is the LIFO one. This is the page number 2. So June 30th. Because it wasn't a purchase, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and carry it over into inventory on hand. We had 50 items costing at $3. So the total cost here is going to be 150. So let me go ahead and fix this real quick or format it. All right. So now that we have that, so that what happened on October 5th?
Purchased 100 units at 325 at a freight cost of 25.
Okay, so this time it's 100 units at 325. And this was October 5th. Okay. We purchased 100 units at 325 with a freight costing 25. Okay. So what is going to be your total purchase price?
325.
Okay, good. Let me just format this real quick. So again, it's 325. What's my total cost going to be?
350.
350.
350. And what's my total cost per item going to be?
350.
$3.50. So again, I'm going to go ahead and bring it right along here. 100 costing me $3.50 to give me a grand total of 350. Okay, so these are nice and easy numbers. Okay, but of course this isn't a real life situation because you will come across where you will see those not so even numbers. Okay. So then what has happened next on October 10?
Purchased another 200 units at 350.
We purchase another 200 units at 350 with a freight costing you 50. We made another purchase. Okay, so October 10. Excuse me. Okay, so what's my total purchase price here?
700.
And my total cost?
750.
And what is my cost per item going to be?
375.
$3.75. Okay, and I'm going to bring this information right across. Okay. Good. So now that we have all of those, what has happened on October 12th?
You sold 180 units.
October 12th, we sold a total of 180 units. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so let's look at our batches. This time we're doing LIFO. So which batch are we going to be taking out from?
200.
200.
We're going to be taking out of the 200 batch. And this time we're only taking out 180. So there are no needs for a big calculation here or a simple calculation here. So 180, right? How much is it going to cost me to sell per each item?
375.
375. So what is going to be my total cost of goods sold?
675.
675. And again, you could go ahead and take your 200 and we're going to subtract out this 180 to give you a total of 20. Okay, and 20 times 375 is going to be $75. Right? Good. So then, what has happened next?
You
Sold
100.
Yes, you sold another 100 items on October 18. So in this case, October 18, how are we going to cost out to get a total of our 100 items?
Take out all of the 20
Okay.
and 80 from the 100.
100.
Good. So here it's going to be a calculation. So we need to gather from two different batches. Okay. So if I'm going to get rid of my whole entire 20, so I know I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm dipping into my middle batch right here, or my second batch of here. And again, I'm going to multiply them across. So what is my total cost of goods sold for my second batch here for the 80 items?
280.
280. Okay, add them together. You should have sold a total of 350. So again, here, I just eliminate that. Just put 0. Here, I sold 80 items, so I should have a total here 20. Okay, so I should have a total right now in my inventory on hand 70 items. Okay. All right. What has happened next?
We purchased 300 units at 375 with freight cost of 75.
Perfect. So we actually ended up making another purchase. So I'm sorry, what was the date? October 20th. 300. $300 at $3.75 each with a freight of 75. So, what is my total purchase price here?
1125.
1125. Okay. And what's my total cost here?
1200.
1200. And then last but not least, what is my cost per item going to be?
$4.
$4. So again, I'm going to leave everything the way it is just because again, I used cell referencing. So if I eliminate that, my whole entire inventory worksheet will get messed up. So I'm going to leave everything as is. Plus it's a good method of keeping track of your inventory as well, of what purchases you actually made and what you're eliminating from your batches. So here I put in my 300 at $4 to get me a grand total of 1200. Okay. So then what has happened on the 25th of October?
We sold 200 units.
We sold 200 units. So here, which batch am I going to be actually taking out from?
The 300.
So again, October 25th, we sold 200 units at $4 each. So what is my total cost of goods sold here?
800.
800. And of course I can come over here and place in 100 because I know that from my calculations, right? If you want to be more precise, of course you could do the 300 minus the 200, or if you want to cell reference, just so then you're even more sure. But in this case, I know what 300 minus 200 is. It's 100. So you should have 400 left remaining there. But in grand total, you should have 170. Okay. So then what has happened on October 28th?
We sold another 150.
We sold another $150. And we also know that by October 31st, we should have a total of 20 units on hand. So let's go ahead and place this information here. So obviously, we need to get rid of 150 units. So in this case, how many batches are we actually going to be dipping into?
All three.
We're going to be dipping into all three. So October 28th, we're going to eliminate the first batch of 100. Okay. We're also going to eliminate the second batch of 20. And then lastly, we need to get to 150. So what is 150 minus 100 minus 20? How many more items do you need to take out from
30.
30? Okay. And of course, you're just going to add all these up together because it's a calculation. Oh, Control C. Hui! My fingers. Okay, so again, I'm gonna add up all of these to get me a total of 150. All right. So my first 100 batch again was for $4, and we know that's going to give me a grand total of 400. Okay, and we know that my second batch for 20 is for 350, which again, no calculation is necessary here because we know that it is for the full $70. And then lastly, we're dipping into the very, very first batch that we have up here from our beginning inventory for $3. So 3 times 30 is going to give us $90. And of course, you can add all these up as well. Okay, so here I'm going to eliminate each one. So we got rid of the 100, we got rid of the 20, and we got 50 minus the 30 to give us a remainder of 20 items left in inventory, costing me $60. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. No? All right. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and do number 3. Continue from above. Your inventory method is perpetual and it's moving average. So remember, moving average, you are more likely to get numbers that do not go in evenly. Okay, and especially this one, we're constantly going to be updating our inventory and constantly having to recalculate our average cost per item. So for this instance here, right, we're continuing on with the exercise. So here, we know that on October 31st, we should have 20 units costing me $60. So I'm going to go to moving average. Again, I'm going to place this information here. So on October 31st, we should have on inventory on hand is going to be 20, oh, wrong section here. 20 units, okay? And it's going to cost you $60. And remember, the formula is now switched over. It's going to be calculated in the cost per item section, okay? So again, if I were to do that, it's pretty straightforward. We know this from our calculations from before, okay? All right, so now that I placed that information in here, we got 20 items costing us $60. So right now, the average cost per item is right now $3. Okay. So what happened on November 2nd?
Purchase 1,200 units at $3 on account.
Perfect. Okay, so $3 on an account and the freight is $25. So again, I'm going to come here, 11.2. And let me see, my quantity was 100 at $3 with a freight of 25. Okay, so what is going to be my total? What is it going to be my total purchase price?
300.
300. Okay, And then what is going to be my total cost?
325.
325. And then, I'm sorry, 325. Now, this is, again, the question is, do you need to solve for your cost per item?
For the first, it's okay.
For the first one, it's okay, but we already have beginning inventory. So in this case, this wouldn't apply unless this is the first purchase that you've actually made.
Right.
Okay, so in this case, this is how I do it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and calculate my new cost per item this way, right? Because it's an average cost per item. I'm gonna go ahead and go into my second line here. I'm gonna add my 20 and add my 100 units right here. And when I click enter, now I have a total of 120. I'm also going to come here and add my $60 plus my $325, all right, to get a total of $385. And then now I can go ahead and calculate my average cost per item by taking my $385 and dividing it by my total quantity of 120. So what is my new average cost per item?
3.208333.
3.21, oh sorry, let me see, 3.02833. Okay, so now we're looking at unfriendly numbers. They don't even out when we calculated this. Okay, so of course I'm gonna also take this information and I'm gonna go ahead and black it out, because remember from our lesson, right? We no longer have it anymore, right? But it's still good to keep it in your inventory on hand so you know where your average is moving. Okay, so there you go. I just blacked it out here, but I know that I should have 120 units on hand, and it's going to cost me 3.2088, so on and so forth. Okay, so now what happened next?
November 8, you purchased another 200 units at 275 on account for freight of 50.
So 200 at 275. Okay, and this was November 8th. 200 at $2.75 each with a freight of 50. So what is my total purchase price here?
550.
550. Good. And then what's my total cost?
600.
600. And again, now it's up to you. You can solve it for the cost per item, but you don't need to, because I'm going to go ahead and transfer this information over into my inventory on hand. So if I'm adding 120 plus my 200, how much is my total quantity now?
320.
320. What is my total total cost?
985.
985. So then what is going to be my new average cost per item?
3.078125.
Okay, so 3.08. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and display this. Okay, so good. 3.078125. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and come here and eliminate that. Okay, because I no longer have it. But again, cell references are very important because I used them. So if I eliminate them, it's going to ruin my inventory worksheet. Okay, so there you go. I should have now 320 items available. Okay. So then what has happened here?
You sold 115 units on the 15th.
Okay, so now we sold 115 units. Okay, so 115 on the 15th. So 11.15. We sold 115. All right. What's my average cost per item?
3.078125.
Good. And because we have that long number, I have to do an equal round. So this is where you need to be very, very careful with, because sometimes, again, if you have that half penny or you have that one thing, you want to make sure that if you do subtract this number out, that it does match on the other end. Okay, so this is where a lot of calculations, when you're doing it like this, you could be off by a couple pennies. Okay, so what's my total cost of goods sold here?
353.98.
353.98. Now let's look at this calculation very carefully. We have an even number, so that means our ending should be 2 pennies. Okay, so here this is 320. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go like this. 320 minus 115. What's my new total quantity?
205.
205. And here I'm going to take my 985 and I'm going to subtract out my 253.98. So what should be my new total cost?
268.98.
260. No.
No, I'm sorry.
131.
Yeah.
Okay, so 631.02. So here I can validate that there's 2 pennies because I'm ensuring that when I applied my numbers together, that it does pan out to be even. Now remember, the above numbers, right? Because we did the average cost per item, they're not solid numbers just yet. And because we equal rounded right here, again, you have to be very careful when you do your calculations here, because you can make a simple rounding error and it can cause you to be off by a couple pennies. So this is just to ensure that you did this correctly, so that you should have 2 pennies left. All right, and what is now my new average cost per item?
3.07814.
Okay, so see, it did change by 10,000th of a penny. So make sure that you're aware of that. Okay, good. And now we have 205 left in our inventory on hand. Okay. Next here, what happened next?
On November 18th, you sold another 145 units.
We sold another 145 units on the 18th. So November 18, 145. All right. And what's my new average cost per item?
3.078146.
Okay. Again, you're going to apply that equal round formula here. So I'm going to do so equal round. It's going to be your formula, comma 2. So what's my total cost of goods sold here?
446.3332.
So 3332. So what does that round to?
446.33.
Yes, 446.33. So that means we should end up with a 7 on the other side. I mean, sorry, wait, 2 minus 3. So we should get a 9 on that side. All right, so let's go ahead and do our calculations. So if we started out with 205 and we sold 145, how much total quantity should I have left?
60.
60, good. Same thing here. If I have 631.02 and I subtracted out the 446.33, how much should I have left?
184.69.
184.69, and good. My calculation is correct. So then what is my new average cost per item?
3.078166.
Okay, so again, it changed by 20,000, 10,000th of a penny. All right. Okay, so let's go keep moving along. So what has happened on November 20th?
Purchase another 300 units at 250 with a freight cost of 75.
Okay, so we purchased 300 at 250 with a freight of 75. So November 20th, 300 units at 250 with a freight of 75. So what's my total purchase price here?
750.
750. And what's my total cost here?
825.
Okay. Now, again, I'm going to add my totals together. So 60 plus 300 gives me a total of
360.
360. And then I'm going to add my 184.69 plus my 825, and I should get a total of
1,009.69.
1,009.69. And then lastly, what is my new average cost per item?
2.80469.
2.80469. Good. All right. Good. All right. This one is a lot more easier. You know, it's a little flowing a lot quicker. So let's go ahead and continue on. So then what has happened on November 25th?
You sold 175 units.
Good. 175. Okay, so again, on November 25th, was it the 25th?
Yes.
Yes. We sold 175. What was my new average cost per item?
2.804694.
Okay, so again, I'm going to apply my equal round formula. So what's my total cost of goods sold here?
490.82.
490.82. So that means I need to make sure that my ending number should be a 7. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our calculation here. If I started out with 360 and sold 175, how much should I have left?
185.
185. If I had 1,669 minus out my 490.82, I should have a total of
518.87.
518.87. And again, we did our calculations correct because of that 7, right? Now again, once we have our general ledger and we actually apply this concept of doing the inventory worksheet and having our general ledger come into play, everything's going to match, and you'll understand once we get there. Okay. Oh. Okay, so here you go. I'm going to come over here and eliminate this batch here because we no longer have it. So now we have 185 units left. So what has happened on the 28th of November?
You sold another 125 units, leaving us with 60 units on hand available.
Okay, good, good. So 125, leaving 100, leaving with 60 left. So here on November 28th, 125. What's my average cost per item?
2.804703.
Good. And then again, I have to do my equal round formula. So what is my total cost of goods sold here?
359.
350.59. Okay, so again, let's go ahead and subtract my numbers out. If I had 185 and I subtracted 125, how much should I be remaining?
60.
60.
60. So boom. We know at least that portion is correct. All right. If I have 518.87, subtract out that 350.59, what should be my new total cost?
168.
160. Good. And then lastly, what is my actual new average cost per item?
2.8046.
128.046. So I didn't extend it all. There you go. Good. And that is it, right? We did the whole thing in a simplified way, much more easier, much more cleaner. And this way, you don't have to utilize so much space either, and it helps you keep your ideas organized. But again, this is only if you yourself is just the inventory manager. When we dive into the actual fictitious business, not only are you going to be looking at all aspects of every position that could exist, right? You're going to be the accountant. So the accountant's going to do everybody's job. So that means you're going to take care of inventory. You're going to be taking care of purchases. You're going to be taking care of sales. And you're also going to be taking care of payroll. Okay, so we're combining all the concepts that we learned in this class and applying it into the actual class project. So having this kind of worksheet, making it simplified, is only used, again, best used for people who are just inventory managers. But in this case, we will be applying it to every single aspect in accounting. So, if it helps you to memorize it this way, just know that in reality, you're going to be dealing with so much stuff that is it possible that you having the inventory worksheet like this, will it benefit you? Again, it is up to you how you like it. If you prefer this, great. If you can keep track of it and memorize it, good for you. Okay, so that is how you do all three exercises, right? We learn FIFO, we learn LIFO, and we learn moving average. And this one is the more simpler form. All right, no colors necessary, because again, if you're just lining them up in here, it should be pretty straightforward, right? You're lining them up exactly how you purchased it. So other than that, does anybody have any questions in regards to this chapter 8 exercise?